So let's go ahead and get started. This session is the first session, breakout session. It's called Mandatory Marketing with Jason McArtor with Farmboy. So hopefully you're in the right session. My name is Derek Lord, and I'm with the City of Ankeny. I get the privilege of introducing Jason today, but I want to start by thanking everyone for being here and participating in the Small Business Success Summit. It's always a well-attended event. It looks like we have about 38 participants today, so definitely a popular session that I'm sure is going to be good. Before I introduce Jason, I do want to say we did talk before. If you have questions during the session, please include those in the chat box. They will take those questions throughout and then save time at the end to run through those and hopefully answer all of those. Any that can't be answered during the session can be answered after the fact, but do include your questions. They do want to hear those. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Jason McArtor grew up on a small hog farm in southeast Iowa, drawing, experimenting, and creating things daily. He continues to do that through his marketing and web development business that he operates with his team in Clive, Iowa, serving clients across various industries. He was a 1996 graduate of the DMAC Commercial Art Program, currently serves on their advisory board, and has assisted and volunteered time over the years to numerous industry organizations, youth programs, and sports organizations in the Des Moines Metro, locally, as well as the state level. Jason has lived in the Des Moines community since 1994, currently residing in Urbandale with his wife, Brandy, and 3 children, Anya, Josiah, and Elia. He enjoys watching his kids try new things like he did when he was a kid and spending time with his family and friends. I will turn it over to Jason, but before I do, pay close attention. You'll see a theme here. You see the orange hand, you see the orange jacket. It might have something to do with his red hair, but I'll leave that to him to share. Thank you, and Jason, it's all yours.
Great, thank you very much, Derek. I'm assuming everyone can hear me okay right now, and I guess the question of the year, can everyone see my screen okay? Looking good? All right, great. Yeah, I'm Jason, the owner here at Farmboy. I'm joined with Ben from our team. He is our content and marketing producer here, and he'll be keeping an eye on a few things in the moderation queue. I saw a few names that I'm familiar with and maybe some clients or friends that I've done some work with or know from the past. So I appreciate everyone signing on today. Last year, I was in one of your seats, enjoying the summit up in Ankeny. So I'm happy to be joining everyone remotely today from Zoom, from our offices here in Clive, right across from some train tracks. So hopefully the train takes it easy on us today. We're located right at the corner of 22nd Street and University Boulevard. At the end of what we have today, we will be sharing a bit of an action item list that Ben will share over the chat, and that'll be an opportunity to go through and take a little bit of an inventory of some things related maybe to your own marketing that you can implement immediately within your businesses. So I'm sure if many of you own, operate, or function in some sort of a marketing capacity within your business, it can be rather overwhelming looking at the number of overall marketing ideas that are out there. Many of us have purchased a lot of books through Amazon or some of the local bookstores that have dozens of marketing ideas from, guerrilla tactics that you can use, printing, print items, print material, more traditional forms of marketing, in addition to the newer forms of digital marketing that probably many of you have seen at some level along the way here over the last 15 or 20 years. And one thing that we've created at Farmboy is what we call a marketing menu, and that's what I've got up on my screen right now. This is really a broad selection of marketing tactics and to-do list items that maybe some of you have had on lists before, things that you've maybe had on your mind that you said, hey, I'm going to get to that, right? And then tomorrow comes and you say, hey, I'm going to get to that tomorrow. And Really the big thing that we want to do here is give you some actionable items that you can narrow down and implement easily within your business. So our objective here is, like I said, we've met with lots of businesses over the years who really struggle with the challenge of finding the time that they need, or feeling like they maybe don't have the overall knowledge or expertise to execute some of their marketing. And one big thing also is, what areas should they be focusing on? And mandatory marketing is something we created to really simplify and hone in on specific objectives so that you can roll out a manageable marketing plan to get where you want to go with your business or your organization.
Joan Lockhart, Theodore.
So one thing to keep in mind is, like that first list that I showed back on the first slide, lots of different things that you can do, but an Avalanche starts with a single Snowflake. So really the main goal today is to get you to start somewhere. So about 20 years ago, I was a big fan of Quentin Tarantino movies, and he liked to start things at the end. And that's where I want to start today, with your website. So I assume everyone here has a website or some online presence to represent their business. And bottom line is, if your website is not up to par, you are not going to convert the customers that you want to convert overall. So a lot of times people will talk about marketing funnels, and one thing that is if your website is not on par with your sales team's messaging and your social media and some of the advertising that you're putting out there to your customers or to your targets that you're prospecting, you're definitely going to confuse people and potentially lose people once they've gone through that entire process and landed on your website. So that definitely is a spot where you're looking to convert people at your website. It's really the bottom of the funnel. And if your website is not up to the expectation of that visitor, it's like putting a cork at the bottom of that funnel is how I would describe that. And you're going to begin seeing prospects spilling out of that funnel and looking to go find and seek out some of the things that you may have and maybe do very well somewhere else. A few things to keep in mind with your website. 10, 15 years ago, the big thing was responsive. Now almost everybody's website is responsive and will work well on mobile devices and tablets and big screens and really everything in between. But that obviously certainly is a mandatory thing that you're going to want. Mobile use is huge, obviously, and you need to make sure that your website is responsive and that it's very easy to identify what you're about, establish what your pillars are within your business. Some people would call those your 3 uniques or core competencies, the things that you do better than anyone else, than some of your competitors potentially in a market. And then really, if we're talking and looking at a website with someone ourselves at Farmboy, we don't always come in and say, hey, you've got to redo your entire website right away. We can start simple. We can improve a few pages and then look to expand things from there. Got a few statistics here that talk about the importance of having a website that does its job. One of the things, 38% of website visitors will stop engaging if you don't have a good looking website and attractive layouts. So dated or disorganized websites, like I said earlier, those are going to be a conversion killer. If you're looking to get somebody to click a call number or fill out a form or engage with you and take those next steps in that prospecting process, that dated or disorganized content is going to definitely damage what you're looking to do with that. It's a handful of specific action items, and we'll provide you with an ebook at the end of this that you can take with you. I assume some people are working while they're maybe watching what we're doing here, so don't feel like you have to take notes all the way through this. We'll provide you with some of those things after we're done here. Landing pages, that'd be one thing that would relate to the previous slide where maybe you're not having to redo your entire site, but going in and identifying a specific product or service that you offer that you want to market, and then developing a page or two of content around those things and really try to focus on those items to drive some sales. Next really important item in our list of 5 mandatory marketing tactics is your SEO. So if you're going to go out and put together a great website, this is really what I hate to see, is planning a fantastic website out in a sea of billions of websites that are out there. I can't remember the exact numbers. It's around 1 billion or so actual websites that are online right now, I believe. And if you've got a great website that nobody can find, obviously that's not going to help you. So we're all familiar with Google, getting found in appropriate keyword searches. And to give you an idea of how important Google searches are, these are the numbers that you're looking at. So if you have a website and you have a business and you're not appearing in some of those key searches, you're going to certainly be missing out on business that you would have otherwise potentially seen. So over 90% of online experiences begin with a Google search. And then one joke I heard a couple of years ago is best place to hide a dead body, and it's actually page 2 of a Google search. So here are a few more key action items that would be good to really focus on as far as SEO. I've built out some specifics with relation to SEO alone that I could get deeper into, but these are kind of the main things is, knowing what your customers are asking. So if you're thinking about day one SEO tactics or strategies that you should be implementing, what people are doing is they're going to log into a Google search and they're going to type out, how do I do this, or how do I do that, or where do I get this, or what's a good business for these types of things. And those are the questions that you're going to want to be able to give the answers to on your website, because the main thing that Google wants to do when somebody uses its service is they want to be right, and they want to get that user to a solution or to an answer as efficiently as possible. And they also want to keep you on, they also want people to stay on your website for a little bit as well, if you can do that. So those are some tactics that maybe happen once they get there, but I don't get as concerned about bounce rate if we are moving people to the right pages of your site and then tracking what's going on once those people get there. So you want to make sure your site answers the appropriate questions, FAQ sections of sites. Also making sure your site is, from a technical standpoint, built and optimized with your appropriate tags, and then making sure that things are optimized for speed as well. Big thing here, next item would be your pay-per-click. So while organic SEO can really be somewhat seen as the holy grail, PPC can be seen as a little bit like renting. So you are renting space across the internet. through paid tactics to build awareness around your products or services. So organic SEO is great. That's more of an overall marathon, building that up, although we have built websites that have ranked in somewhat challenging areas and rank really high on page one searches, surprisingly in some cases, I guess, for me. But SEO can be much more of a long game, pay-per-click, somewhat of a quick fix. But if you're implementing the right strategies, it's certainly something where you can see the ROI when you are running campaigns either through Google or Google Display Network or through online social pay-per-click, whether that be boosted posts or paid ads through things like Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. So seeing ads does not hurt any business. Obviously, it's awareness. For years, we drove down the highways, we saw billboards. Anywhere you can bring awareness around your product just continues to build your brand and the awareness and that top of mind that people have talked about for so many years in marketing books with your organization or with your business. So that's something to definitely keep in mind, is that someone who's clicked on an ad is very likely to potentially come back and eventually buy or engage with your business at a higher level. Talked a little bit already about finding your audience on all platforms. So Instagram might not be right for everybody. I know it's fun. It's definitely exciting to scroll down through an Instagram feed, but that there are certainly other niche areas where you can look to engage with people and build your audiences. So don't stick with Facebook or Google alone. Certainly explore other ideas or other opportunities that may be out there. So some action items that you can use as far as pay-per-click, using it to grow your own organic SEO. So driving traffic to your site through pay-per-click, and then engaging those customers or those potential customers and prospects with content that gets them back to the site. One thing to also be really careful of is that Facebook and all of the other advertising platforms that are out there, I don't know how many people here have run ads before. I assume at least the majority of you or some of you have probably at minimum boosted a post or two. Maybe you've run some Facebook ads or Google ads, and all of those platforms will happily take your money. So you'll want to make sure that when you run pay-per-click campaigns, that you have that you have conversion points that you're able to track and see a customer through a journey from the top of your funnel all the way through to a potential conversion. Next item that most all of us, I assume, use with some regularity would be social media. And when we look at the different pillars that we use within our 5 mandatory marketing tactics that we put out there, these are all, the sum of the parts, what we get out of that is greater than the individual pieces. And that's where you really look at creating proof of your brand and who you are and telling your story through your social media. one thing that you have to be careful of on social media is that you're not just constantly selling and selling and selling, but rather providing relevant information, sharing things for free, and then eventually or occasionally offering some sort of sales opportunity to those people. But social media, obviously, a lot of times people will learn about a business and then they'll go right to their social media anymore. I can't think of how many times these days when I'll see something that looks interesting and I'll immediately jump to their Instagram, jump to their Facebook, like both of them so I can see what types of people that they work with. So people are out there always looking for cool businesses or cool products to engage with. And social media obviously is a very, it's a high traffic and high volume channel to put your messaging out there through. And one thing about it is that you can do it for free in a lot of cases. And obviously it's going to take time to put those plans together. But if you can utilize social media through content strategies, you can really begin telling your story and engaging with customers at a pretty high level. So you can see here some statistics, the percentage of adults that are on social media, and they're on there for fairly lengthy and extended periods on a regular basis. One thing that I heard not so long ago was I grew up in the 80s, and we went from black and white TV to a color TV, and then the radio became less important. And with mobile devices, the reality right now is that your TV is now the radio, if you want to put things in some perspective. Here are some statistics on social media use and users among all adults. Facebook, obviously king in this, and some of the other platforms quite a ways behind overall in terms of overall use. So what can you do on social media? So really focus your efforts on channels where your audience is. So that may be determining where people that you would want to engage with, hang out, where do they spend their time, identifying that in some of your strategy sessions and figuring out where those eyeballs and where those users exist and where they like to be, and then figuring out how to get to them and stay in front of them and engage with them ultimately. One big thing right now is that businesses and influencers and organizations of all sorts are really pushing video content more and more, along with more unique methods of imagery. So getting away from just dropping up a stock photo or posting selfies and things like that, although those things can work to get some people's attention. Utilizing simple animations or video content can be something that really can get people to engage and pay attention to what it is that you're offering. Another big thing with social media is that it can be something that involves a lot of time if it's something that you're not scheduling out or that you don't really have a strategy for. And that's where it can be really important to sit down on either a monthly or a quarterly basis, if you can do it, even better, and develop what some of the pillar content that you're wanting to focus on in that time frame is, and then building out maybe a blog post or two, and then breaking that up into smaller pieces of micro content. Not getting into that a lot today, but we have actual templates and strategies that we will use for taking somewhat of a bigger idea as either a larger video or piece of blog content, and then breaking some of the smaller concepts or ideas within that down into smaller pieces that you can schedule out and float out onto the social media channels over a longer period of time. So we're really, really big here about identifying the specific things that you bring to your customer base, and then really owning those maybe 2 or 3 big things that you want to be known for in your market, but then breaking those things down into smaller pieces of what I would call micro content that you can put out on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram in some cases, and maybe even some of the other social media channels. YouTube would be another place where you can put out some of that content on a regular basis, because those platforms want to see content going out on a regular basis in order to build those audiences that you're looking to establish.
I wonder if we want to pause really quick, because you do have a question in the chat about video and the posts. And Tiffany, I don't know if you need to clarify, or if Jason, you know what she's talking about there. Thanks.
All right, I'll let Ben take it. I don't see the chat on my screen here right now.
Yeah, this is a simple question. Thanks for the question, Tiffany. And I guess we can address it now. Thanks for bringing that up, Meg. From a video standpoint, so one of the things I do here with Farmboy is I do all the content capture for our video and our videography that we have for our individual clients. And one thing that we're working to try to implement with a lot of our clients now is live video. Tiffany wanted to know video posting or live video that we were talking about and Jason was talking about in that slide. And the answer is both, but I think that we'd be foolish to not look at the live video realm and be very intrigued by it, because there are plenty of data points to back up that live video is where the internet is heading, especially with how there are TV numbers that might be dwindling now as we move towards 2021. And the one thing I love about live video in specific connection with social media is the fact that if you go live on Facebook or you go live on Instagram, there's a way to alert all of your followers that you are going live. So you're going to have a little banner pop up on all 500, 5,000 or 500,000 followers that some of these places might have when you go live. So the one thing with live video is you don't maybe get as much editing points out of that as you can. You can't polish up a live video, obviously, for obvious reasons, the way that you can polish up a video that you might go shoot and then you might edit out through, whether you can do that on your own or you outsource that to a videographer. But I would say that those are probably the 2 best ways to analyze video posting compared to live video. Does that answer your question okay, Tiffany?
And thanks. I'll let you leave the rest of the questions until the end. Thanks.
Sure.
Great, and got about 20 minutes left here in the presentation. I'm getting a little bit closer to the end of the actual points that I want to cover. So we will shoot to have at least a few minutes at the end to answer some questions, or if anyone wants to drop us something even afterwards. We're pretty easy to find. We're not hard to get a hold of. So and we try to be friendly. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out really anytime. Email, somewhat of a forgotten tactic for many, especially if you began marketing yourself in a time where social media had already become somewhat of a big thing, right? Because it's easy to go out, it's fun to get likes, it's fun to get that instant gratification of what you see off of social media when you put a post out. But there are a lot of organizations and businesses out there, a lot of the people that you see that pop up on your Facebook feed that have a program or a plan that you need to subscribe to. Those individuals have really gotten to the point they are off of email lists in many cases, and leveraging lists of thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people that they stay in front of and are connected with through an email inbox. So a couple of things there to definitely think about. And I don't know how many of you actively are building email lists currently, but it's definitely a way to connect and stay in front of people that want to engage and want to receive content from you. We've already covered a lot of this as far as email being something that's been around for a while, but something that you should continue to use and build into your strategies. It's something you can automate. It's something that you can schedule 2 or 3 emails to go out over the course of a month, much like you can schedule posts on social media to go out. And you do it all in the course of a morning or a day, and you're done for the month, and it all goes out when it's scheduled to go out. So some of us probably get a lot of emails. So while you check it every day, you might potentially miss a couple of emails on occasion. But I don't think a day goes by when I don't check my email at least 10 times. It's something that I'm actually working on to do less in order to get a little more time in my days. But managing your inbox can be another challenge. But people certainly, not a day goes by for most consumers without actually reaching out and checking their email. Again, don't just sell through your emails. Give something of value, share a blog post, talk about something that's relevant in the industry. Don't use it as a spot to just continuously say, hey, come buy this. Provide additional value, and then people will engage with you. We've already talked a little bit about automation, and that's noted there, as well as the last item. Automations and sales funnels is another big thing that you can do off of that, where you can detect what people are doing when they are engaging with some of your content, and then you can respond with targeted emails that speak to a specific product or service that you offer. The good old-fashioned handshake that we've come to know as now an elbow bump or a wave, or even some of these Zoom meetings. Great way to engage with people face-to-face, whether it's over a Zoom meeting. You can have everything else working, but being comfortable speaking to someone, talking about your products and services is just something that you have to learn over time. And some of that messaging to certain people may be a little bit different than messaging to other people. We focus on 3 different key services really overall. We've kind of got 3 different doors that people come in through when they are considering working with us. So knowing how to engage with that person and with that particular service that we offer is something that's important to our business. If you're a business that has a number of different products, knowing those products and how they work and how they benefit your customer is something that's obviously really important, and there's no better way to convey those things than in person. I don't know how many times I've heard this recently. People are getting more comfortable doing Zoom meetings and just being on screen and talking to a computer rather than an actual living human sitting across from you at the table. But I know a lot of people really like to have that face-to-face. I know that with our organization, working remotely some of the time can work, but I think we come up with a lot better ideas, and we're able to develop concepts and things like that better in person than I think we could do if we had to work remotely 100% of the time. Last comment here is a really big thing. Customers are going to work with people just like a relationship. If you don't know somebody, like somebody, and trust somebody, it's not somebody that you're probably going to be friends with. It's probably not a business that you're going to engage with much at least a meaningful level. In-person conversions are huge. I'll have Ben share a link here in just a couple of minutes. We have just a short workshop to cover some of the items that we've discussed, and hopefully we'll kind of kickstart some action for you and your business to move forward with some marketing concepts that maybe you have. Talked about having multiple elevator pitches for the face-to-face. Be clear, network, join the chamber. All right, so where to start? This is where we've shared a link, I think maybe now. Okay, great. Making sure we've shared that link. You can either go to that now or afterwards. We have set up a form that will allow you to go through, create a goal, identify what that goal is worth, and then make note of the 3 main things that you need to get there from a marketing standpoint. And then we also have a brief checklist that will help you get a bit of an idea of where you or your organization stands as far as some of the different tactics that I showed very early in the presentation. But you all can feel free to go through that. We could do that live, but that may chew up the majority of the rest of our time. So I can begin moving into addressing some of the questions that you have. As I do that, I'll throw in a couple final thoughts with extra credit. One thing we haven't talked about a lot yet is remarketing. It's a huge way to stay in front of somebody who is engaged at some level with your content. And people have probably heard of pixels and UTMs, and that's not an infection, but those are really important things that you need to be aware of so that you can stay in front of and continue to feed ads to someone or continue to feed messaging to someone either through social media channels or through Google Display Network or some of the other online networks that will serve up banner ads, essentially. Display Network is a fancy way of saying these are banners. B2B, business tracking. So one thing that always gets the attention of prospects or clients that we're working with is, hey, can you tell me who's coming to my website? And the answer with that is at least to some degree, yes. We can identify through specific tracking technologies what businesses are coming to your website and what pages they are viewing. And then we can also help to identify individuals in that business who would be the profile that you're looking for. And then the last item was that video and animation, which Ben had spoken about a little bit already. Using that to elevate what you're doing online and make you stand out, getting away from some of the stale and static images that a lot of people have used and gotten away with up to now. The bar's been raised, at least to some degree. Tips for moving forward and how to get this started once you go through that list. I always like to start on paper. Ideas come out of the head, through the pen, pencil, whatever, onto the paper more quickly, I think, than really anywhere else. I keep notes all over the place, though. I have Notes app on my phone, regular old-fashioned Notes app, which syncs on my Mac and everywhere else. So that's a great place to keep notes and ideas. But when I'm mapping out a plan, I'll do it right on paper. There's no boundaries, white sheet of paper, and I'll just go right through it and build out exactly what I think this thing should look like rather quickly. Next thing is assembling your resources. Who do you have available on your team, or what expertise do you have, or assets, people and different proficiencies that you have that you would have in your pocket or at your or at your fingertips to be able to go out and execute some of these different strategies that you maybe need to execute. Another really big thing, I use a lot of alliteration, so dates and deliverables and who's doing it. So 3Ds there. That's something that we get onto some of our project management dashboards with every project that we do now. It's got to have a date when it's due. We got to know what we're doing, the deliverable, and then we got to know who's in charge of that particular thing. If we can do that, we're going to move through that project and we're going to make sure things get done efficiently. Bold beats boring. So that goes without saying. And humor, if you can make somebody smile, I think that's always a good thing with your marketing. And then don't let up. Keep your foot on the gas with everything that you do. All right. I see we have a few questions. I can't read them from here, though.
Yeah,
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
The first question is from Pat. Thanks for the question, Pat. He has thoughts, or he or she, I should say, has thoughts on Vidyard and sending video via email. Do you know much on Vidyard? I know a little bit, but maybe let you start.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen a few people that have used that, and it's something that can work. It works just fine. It's putting essentially a video in somebody's inbox, delivering something to somebody via email. So certainly nothing wrong with that. People can always unsubscribe to your lists if you're doing too many of them. So that's something to maybe just monitor overall if it's something where you're seeing a lot of unsubscribes because of that. But chances are if somebody opens up your email, they want to know more about what it is you have to say. They probably read a subject line. And if you're delivering your content via video, people like to watch videos these days, at least on par with reading something. So I think it certainly makes sense.
I think to your point, Jason, too, that's an overarching thing that I know I see a lot and we talk about a lot with marketing is no matter what it is, whether it's Vidyard, emails, or your social media posts or your ad campaigns, keeping tabs on it and tracking to see what works and what doesn't work, because no matter how smart you think you are, or how smart we think we are, we put out stuff that doesn't work sometimes. And we have to keep an eye on that and say, all right, let's pull that back. Let's try something else. Okay, this works. So the more you can track and try to find ways to keep eyes on what you have putting out there for your company and seeing this is working great. Okay, how can we replicate this? Or maybe this isn't working that well. Let's try something else.
Certainly if you have the content, if you have the videos, do them, cut them up, target the specific individuals that those make sense for and put those in front of those people.
Question from Amanda. She wants to know if there are any recommendations or challenges for current marketers / graphic designers. Maybe what are some of those challenges or what are some of those recommendations?
Challenges for current marketers. Really, I think it's identifying where you start. I think going back to the early part of the presentation, an Avalanche starts with a single Snowflake. So it might take a while. Some people expect instant results. You can see some of that through pay-per-click strategies. I think those are things that you can use right away and drive traffic and drive someone to a potential conversion point, contact forms, actually buying something from a store in some cases. But I think those are the biggest challenge. I think, especially even my background originally, going back 20 years to my days at DMAC, was in graphic design. So I was self-taught, in those areas prior to going to DMAC, where I got training there on that. I taught myself in web development after that. But there's lots of different areas that you can be in. And if you're a solopreneur or somebody working on your own, I think the other challenge is how many areas can you focus on? And that's one thing with us here. We are a smaller team. We have experts who really own a specific department, because most of us aren't going to be able to be a fantastic graphic designer and manage marketing campaigns and go out and do photo shoots and video shoots and develop websites. That can work, and you can do it to a certain level, but with the types of clients that we wanted to pursue at that point, I think that's what a lot of that can be when you're working for yourself, or if you're an independent graphic designer. That's the term that I heard, right? So I'm making sure I'm talking to the right people. Lots of different things that you might have interest in. So focusing on certain things, getting really good at it before you move on to that next thing is what I recommend there.